Such a kind man. It's a huge loss.
Advocates say CU has a specific type in mind for a new leader, and they don't mean that as a compliment.
The top person has an influence as to whether or not students feel welcome.
And introducing our next Supreme Court Justice, Ketanji Brown Jackson.
And this nomination is confirmed.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for Denver 7 News at 5. I'm Jacqueline Allen.
And I'm Shannon Ogden. Glad you're with us tonight. The University of Colorado is nearing the end of its search for a new president.
But some argue the search process has been neither transparent nor inclusive, and that the university should start from scratch.
So tonight we're going 360, looking deeper at what different groups are saying about this selection process. Now, a little bit of context for you first, because controversy and CU presidents are nothing new. In 2019, CU named Mark Kennedy to the job and immediately was hit with outrage. Students led multiple protests over a perceived lack of inclusivity, and they also took exception to Kennedy's voting record in Congress, specifically a congressman in Minnesota. Now, notably, they didn't appreciate his stance against same-sex marriage and his support for a border wall with Mexico.
CU announced last year that Kennedy would be leaving and promised transparency in the search for his replacement. Students say that hasn't happened. Denver 7's Micah Smith joins us live outside the CU campus in Denver.
Micah, students and advocacy groups tell you the process has excluded qualified candidates of color, particularly Hispanic candidates.
Shannon and Jacqueline, I talked to the Latino Advocacy Council, Claro, and other groups who say prominent Latinos have been left off the list of finalists for CU's next president. These groups say they don't trust the search process, and they say without trust, there's an automatic disconnect between CU's new president and communities of color. As the University of Colorado system's presidential search winds down, some community leaders say the process has lacked inclusion and transparency.
There's conflicts of interest there.
Mario Carrera, president of the Colorado Latino Leadership Advocacy and Research Organization, or Claro, says the presidential search team excluded former Colorado Lieutenant Governor and Claro member Joseph Garcia from the list of finalists, but included interim President Todd Salomon, who promised not to seek the position.
Todd Salomon, who did not necessarily at one time look for and was contractually obligated not to apply for this position, he is now in that running.
During a CU Board of Regents meeting, Carrera told Regents this, and Claro member Polly Baca seconds that opinion.
We're very concerned about the process.
Baca says she's concerned about inclusion on campuses after her granddaughter and other CU students expressed feeling unwelcome.
CU has got a lot of work to do to develop a more welcoming atmosphere for students of color on campus.
Baca says that work can't happen if the presidential search itself lacks inclusion. CU's Board of Regents issued this statement on the search, saying in part, "We held more than 40 listening sessions with stakeholder groups to gather input. Our search firm has put together a very strong and diverse pool of candidates." Board of Regents Chair John Kroll also addressed Claro members directly.
I would invite Claro and others from the Latino community for a dialogue with the candidate or candidates on how we can constructively move forward.
I think he is sincere, but it doesn't solve the problem. The problem is the process was wrong. The process had deficiencies. That's the problem. And so we need to have a process that yields the best candidates.
So we're asking the CU Regents to declare this a failed process and start over.
Mario and Polly both told me if the search team does not start this search over, there will always be questions surrounding the new president of the University of Colorado system. Reporting live in Denver, Micah Smith, Denver 7.
Micah, thank you for that. Some in the Latino community, though, feel the presidential selection process has been fair. Xochitl Gaitan, president of Denver School Board, gave us her perspective. Now, she says she's a mother of a former CU student and says she has witnessed the effort put into diversifying the search team.
I appreciate that the search committee followed through on their outreach, their listening engagements, and they sought out the Latino groups during that process. And so I really do thank the CU Regents and the committee search to make that happen.
The CU Board of Regents expects to make a final decision on who will be the next president by the end of the month. And you can also find a deeper look at CU's selection process on our website, thedenverchannel.com.
On this vote, the yeas are 53, the nays are 47, and this nomination is confirmed.
All right. Okay. Wow. Congratulations. This is a big day.
History was made today. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson will become the next member of the United States Supreme Court and will become the first black woman to do so. Today she watched the historic Senate vote at the White House with President Biden. All Democrats rallied behind Judge Jackson, along with 3 Republicans. Colorado Democrats sent out a joint statement saying, quote, "Her confirmation is a first in the history of the United States. A black woman to finally serve in the highest court is an inspiration and a shining symbol of progress in our country." Jackson is replacing retiring Justice Stephen Breyer, who will step down when this term ends in the summer.
Today, the UN General Assembly voted to suspend Russia from the UN's Human Rights Council. And also today, the Pentagon says Russian forces are now progressing into eastern Ukraine after facing heavy resistance in the west. In the city of Mariupol, City Council there today said at least 40,000 residents have fled and that 5,000 civilians have been killed since the invasion began.
One of the companies that lost the bid to clean up debris from the Marshall Fire is now suing Boulder County. Florida-based Sears Environmental Services, Inc. claims the company Boulder did choose, DRC Contracting, is unqualified, and the company wants the contract invalidated. It's also accusing the county of secretly negotiating with DRC to adjust the cleanup timeline. Despite this new lawsuit, Boulder County says it will move forward without changes to the current timeline unless a judge orders otherwise.
Emmanuel Imani's sister describes him as a man of God who always took care of his family. And this week, Imani was killed in just a random shooting near his apartment complex at 16th and Colorado.
Denver 7's Bayan Wang spoke with his family and teachers at his children's school who were devastated to learn the news.
It's an empty desk, a reminder of a heartbreaking story. A 10-year-old boy has been absent since Tuesday from Teller Elementary.
The child keep crying. They said, "I want my dad." The boy say, I want my dad. I want my dad. I want my dad."
Explaining to the boy and his sister that their father, Emmanuel Imani, is gone has been challenging for a family still grasping it themselves.
I can't believe that. It's very hard for me. I can't believe.
Records show police were called to Imani's apartment complex twice on Monday for reports of a suspicious man, but were unable to locate him. Less than 2 hours later, Imani was shot and killed outside his apartment by that man, while police were on scene searching for him.
He was good man. He's a man of God. He need to talk about God. He's good father.
Imani was a former teacher in Congo and moved his family to Colorado for a chance at a better life. He worked the graveyard shift at a grocery store stocking shelves so he can be with his children during the day. He was also a huge supporter of the teachers at his son's school.
He was one of those people that stood out to make sure that you understood that he valued you and what you were doing for his kid.
Imani also served on the district's multilingual committee.
He was an advocate for families much like his, and did it with such grace and with so much respect, not only for our school, but for the district as a whole.
That's why those around him were inspired.
See a black father that's doing all the right things, that's supporting his family. It always gave me a sense of pride.
Imani was the sole provider for his family, so school staff started this online fundraiser for them, which has raised more than $27,000 so far.
And Emma was a guy who would give you the shirt off his back. And so I think I would just tell Emma, we're going to give it back to you. We're going to make sure that your kid is going to achieve what you were hoping in the future you were hoping for them.
And he gave his children those tools for a brighter future, though his own was cut tragically short. Bayan Wang, Denver 7.
Contact Denver 7 has exposed troubling claims about a major car dealer.
Run away from these people at all costs.
Now that the state's seen our reporting, it's getting involved as well.
If they want to be able to sell cars, they're going to have to improve their processes.
These wild winds are finally going to start settling down. You're going to really like the weekend forecast.
And baseball is back. We are less than 24 hours from Rockies opening day, and police are ready for the crowds.
The most important piece for us is people getting to and from the game safely.